So I think we get started. So good morning, everyone. My name is Sophie Gombara from Vitamin, and I'm very happy to welcome you today for our panel at the Entrepreneurs Corner within the Innovation Week. So today I am very honored to welcome our speakers. We have Mrs. Salwa Sadek, who is a researcher with the National Institute of Science and Technologies of the Sea. We have Mrs. Lamia of Delhi's company. Unfortunately, she will not be able to attend because she's sick, so we wish her a prompt recovery. We have Mr. Khaled Brahmi, who is a researcher with the Faculty of Science of GAFSA. Mrs. Yusra Braham, who is a scientist and project manager and developer for the Monastir and El Feja Technopole. We have Mr. Khazi Ben Hotman, who is a founder of UTIC Venture and a founding member of Maghreb Diaspora Business Angel Network. And we have finally Mr. Nader Ben Amr, who is the president of Excellencia and vice president of Carthage Business Angels from Tunis. So welcome everyone. Very happy to speak with you today and to exchange with our audience. Today we are going to speak about researchers, innovators, people who carry projects, and how they can overcome the difficulties of going out of the lab and coming into the real economy, into the real life project. So how do you make your project real in the economy? And we know that we have since a few years in Tunisia, but also in other countries of the region, we have a lot of startups and a lot of projects and a lot of research projects, but only few of them manage to succeed in their scale up, manage to succeed in staying on the market. And so this morning we are going to focus on showing solutions, maybe some inspiration for people who are carrying a project right now, in terms of how can you overcome these difficulties. So how do you make sure that you are successful on the market? So I'm just going to go through our panelists and ask them just to tell us a few words about what they are doing. So we will start with you, Mrs. Salwa.
Good morning, Sophie. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be with you today in this panel. My name is Salwa Sadek. I am professor at the National Institute of Sea Science and Technology in ISTM, and I am the director of a laboratory, Blue Biotechnology and Aquatic Bioproduct. I have more than 20 years of experience and expertise and research work in the field of marine sciences that include in particular food quality, food extraction of biomolecule from diverse sources, and also for the analytical tools needed to monitor quality control of aquatic product. Thank you. So
thank you, Mrs.
I have also been leading many projects, national and international projects, and currently we have a new project within the INICBCMed. Thank you. That
I think you yourself are also trying to become an entrepreneur.
Yes.
With your project. Right.
Yes, I will talk about this later on. So just now it's introduction. Thank you.
Perfect. Mr. Khaled Brahmi.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and good morning. I am Khaled Brahmi, PhD in chemistry. Now I am for Technopole of GAFSA. I wanted to speak with you today about my startup, Rewater. We have a solution to treat and recycle industrial wastewater by an electrochemical process blister electroflocculation. With this process, we can recycle the wastewater and recycle for other time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh Khaled. Mrs. Yusra?
Good morning, everybody. So my name is Yusra Abraham. I'm a PhD doctor. I received my PhD in co-supervision with the University of Paris-Est and the National Engineering School of Monastir, University of Monastir. Basically, I'm in electronic engineering. I occupied a postdoc position at MF-CEPOL, and now I integrated the team of MF-CEPOL as a project developer and manager. I am here today to present the Monastir Technopark as a supporter for the researchers such as Mr. Khaled. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yusra. Mr. Ghazi?
Yes, thank you, Sophie. Good morning to everybody, to all the participants. My name is Ghazi bin Uthman. I am a senior consultant and an angel investor. I am one of the founding members of the Maghreb Diaspora Business Angel Network that we are putting together to bring diaspora angels from the Maghreb countries to invest in startups that are being started in different Maghreb countries, including very early stage startups, including startups that come out of research, startups in technology and other related fields.
Thank you, Mr. Ghazi. Mr. Nazer?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Sophie, for giving us this opportunity to talk about innovation with startups. So I'm Nazer Ben Ammar. I'm an engineer and mathematician. I had the chance to live in the Silicon Valley while I was doing my master's degree of engineering management at Stanford. And then in 2010, with a group of friends, we thought about creating Carthage Business Angels. So it was created finally in 2011. On the same year, we also invested in a company, an accelerator, incubator called Wiki Startups. I'm a founding member and a member of the board. I'm also an advisor of some institutional financial companies in Tunisia that are investing in the startups in Tunisia in different fields. I have the chance to meet more than 120 startups per year. So very active in the ecosystem, and I hope that I can share of my experience through this webinar.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So you see, we have a broad panel of very inspiring people around us. We are going to start with the entrepreneurs. So Mrs. Salwa, can you tell us a little bit more about your startup project?
Thank you, Sophie. I'm now going to talk about myself as an entrepreneur, new entrepreneur. As you are aware that now globally, we are going to more naturalist. That's why we thought that it's important to extract and to produce natural colorant to the food industry. In fact, we want to help food sector to substitute synthetic food dye with natural colorant to meet standard regulation and consumer expectancy. So because there is new regulation, and now, especially in Tunisia, we are using only synthetic dyes. So therefore, we want to the first stage to produce natural extract from marine sustainable biosources like microalgae, like yeast, and this is very important because we can modulate the metabolic modulate the metabolic pathway to produce the needed colorant. For example, using different procedure and submitting the species to a special media, we will have the desired color. So in that stage, we produce different colorant now, which are available in our lab. And we have also a patent for one of them, which is phycocyanin, stabilized with a natural colorant. And we are going to also have more patent that is going to be written as soon as possible. So this is my what we are doing now in the lab.
So you are making our food safer and healthier. So that's
yes.
Very good news. I suppose that it is a lot of work. How long have you been working on this research project in the lab?
We are working in the lab. We are a group of researchers who are some of them are working on the production of, for example, microalgae and yeast. And this is we are doing this since now 2 years about this project. So we have that's why we were able to put a patent for one of them. So yes, it's a lot of work, but it's a passionate work we are doing in the lab. We have also the possibility to make more colorant thanks to many biotechnological techniques.
So there's a lot of technology into
yes.
into making things more natural. We understand, and
yes.
it's a lot of work from the whole team for 3 years. So can you talk us through a little bit your partnership? So you have been working with Mrs. Lamia Benzarki from so she's the director of research, development, innovation, and quality with Delis Danone in Tunisia. Can you talk to us a little bit about like how you met and what happened?
Yes. Of course, the colorant we are so far producing and testing are performed in the laboratory. So we wanted to start with Delis because it's a leader in dairy manufacture, but also in drink. They started also to make drink. So we wanted to go with them for prototype to do the prototype to ensure especially predictable and stable quantity of food colorant, because it's not the same if we are working in the lab, then it's and it's according to the matrix they are going to use the colorant. So it's different if they are using a drink, then it is then when they are using yogurt, for example. So now we need to have this special condition to meet their expectancy and needs. And this is important to also to make a scaling up.
Right, so it was important to you to be close to an industry partner to make sure that you have the product that fits their purpose. And why do you think they accepted to work with you?
Because firstly, they import not natural colorant, but let's say additive from foreign country. So I think it's if they find this this product here in Tunisia, they will save for them foreign currency at first, and it will be cheaper for them. And the other thing that we are offering, we are local, so now we need to consume locally. It's better, even if we look to the global trend to consume locally and to produce locally. So I think we are here to meet this SDG global objective. So I think it's important also to do this. And of course, we are close, so we can perform for them the needed color they want and to try in their we can try together what is needed for them.
Perfect. So the fact that you are close to them, it helps, of course, for the cooperation, but you think it's also valuable for you know, this trend of producing locally and consuming locally.
Yes, of course, we are producing from sustainable bioresources, which are aquatic sources, which is important also from another side, which is we can if we in next step we will have to produce this, for example, microalgae and spirulina. So I think we can be aware that we can control the production we need and the color we need for their product. And only, yes, at this stage, yes, okay.
And so you think also the fact of using more natural products is in line with Delhi's policy in Tunisia to make healthier products for food?
I think it's a need now. Now industry, they opt for this new colorant because there is a new regulation, international regulation. They prohibit synthetic color because it's not good for health. And we will. The last one is about titanium oxide, which is the white color, which is now prohibited in the food sector. So now they're obliged in some way to use natural colorant. That we are going to be more naturalists in using our products in color, and we need colorant anyway because we eat with our eye, like we say. So we need in every food and many drinks now. So. Because also because our colorants that are functional. If you look to phycocyanine, which is the blue color, it has many functional feature like immunity. So now people, because of the COVID, they are looking for a new product which can boost their immunity. They boost their every well-being in so. All we are extracting that have antioxidant activity, so it's good for health also.
It's more than color, and it's more than color.
More than color. It's more than color. We are also in a second stage to look to nutraceutical and why not cosmetic in the future. But now we are going to with this.
Perfect. And in terms of, so we are going to be optimistic and speculate here a little bit. Do you think that the fact that you would collaborate with Delhi's Danone in Tunisia would help you also collaborate with other Danone factories abroad, for example, either delivering your product or teaching them how you did it?
Yes, of course, because now if we look at the international market, I know that there is only one startup who started with producing colorant from microalgae, and it's in yes, we have.
So we wish you and.
So yes, it was started last year, 2021, and I think the market is big and is open to many startups that are going to produce natural colorant, and this also will permit to establish a market-oriented product development. Because we can develop an oriented market
directly with the industrial. Wonderful. Yes. So we wish you and we wish Delhi's Danone all the best for the future of the project. Thank you so much, Mrs. Salwa. We are going to move now to our second story, which is the story of Si Khaled Brahmi. And we have understood, Si Khaled, that you have develop the process and machinery in order to depollute water from the industry so that the industrial companies can reuse their own water after cleaning. And I would like to understand also a bit more from Mrs. Yusra, what is going to happen with this project of Mr. Khaled?
So Amif was very interested with the work done by Mr. Khaled in his research career because it responds to a real and existing need in the Technopark. In fact, we have a specific dyeing park in Monastir Technopark. And in this park, we offer the service of collective effluent treatment and management of water. In fact, this project is huge and it needs so much time to be done. When we knew about the technology that is developed by Mr. Khaled, we were very interested to collaborate with him to develop a demo that can respond to our needs and that this will help him to concretize his technology and to have a demo or proof of concept that will help him very much in to develop his startup and his work. I can
So
hear
it basically
you.
answers both needs from Mr. Khaled and from the Technopole to combine this in a success story. Thank you. And Mr. Khaled, can you tell us a little bit how have you been able to meet the Technopole? How did that happen? Can you tell us the story a little bit?
I don't hear you, Sophie.
You do not hear me?
Yes, okay now.
So can you just tell us a few words how you got in touch with the Technopole?
Really, it's the program of Technoriat who make on the Est-ce que je peux parler en français? Bon, je trouve pas les mots.
I can answer if it is possible.
Yes, we have to speak English because our audience is multinational.
No problem. Yes, so no problem. So it's through the Technoriat project. Since the ATT, l'Association des Technoparks, the Tunisia Technoparks Association, is a partner in this project. So the Technopark was knew about the project of Mr. Khaled Brahmi that was coached. He was coached and supported by this project in order to develop his startup of free water.
Perfect. So this is how you got in touch and discovered that you have both interests. Mr. Khaled, what are the benefits for you of having a first demonstration of your technology installed with the Technopole? If you want, you can answer in French.
Je vais parler en français car je ne trouve pas les mots en anglais. Bon, l'expérience avec le Technopole est une expérience très riche. On est en train de développer un prototype, donc notre proof of concept, qui va nous permettre de se rapprocher aux industriels de la zone industrielle de Monastir et de Fous, qui sont l'une des plus grandes zones industrielles de textile, comme vous le savez. Aussi, à travers les compétences qui existent dans le Technopole de Monastir, et je tiens l'occasion pour remercier Sijalel Belhaj Khalifa pour ses efforts. Il m'a trop aidé, il m'a trop me donné des conseils. Aussi, j'ai bien profité de l'aide de Sophie, car c'est elle qui m'a accompagné dès le début pour le prototypage et pour le dimensionnement de ma station. En fait, notre solution, elle pose une vraie solution qui peut résoudre le problème de la pénurie d'eau et de la pollution industrielle dans un monde qui souffre de jour au jour, donc du manque d'eau. Comme vous le savez, le développement industriel est directement relié aux ressources d'eau. Donc, il faut penser à faire le recyclage au lieu donc d'acheter de l'eau avec beaucoup de l'argent, on peut le recycler et l'utiliser une autre fois. Merci.
Et on peut, voilà, on peut préserver
Ouais.
nos ressources en eau,
Et
particulièrement
protéger notre
ici.
environnement et la nappe d'eau. Comme vous savez,
Voilà,
si
exactement.
on fait des rejets des eaux toxiques, ils vont contaminer aussi la nappe. Si on va faire à la suite un puits, etc., on va avoir une eau polluée.
Tout à fait. And I think even in Monastir, where the Technopole is located and where the demonstration device will be installed, you are also completely within an aquifer, which is quite fragile. You have the sea on one side and this humid area where you are located. So I believe it's probably very important for you also to make sure that you do not release any polluted water into your environment, right, Mrs. Yosra?
Je veux profiter de l'occasion pour mettre le point sur que notre technologie innovante, elle fait le traitement pour un coût de traitement très faible. Comme on n'utilise plus de produits chimiques, on utilise juste l'aluminium, le courant électrique, le sel de cuisine, donc des trucs qui sont très simples et non pas riches, alors qu'on peut atteindre un rendement pour un traitement de 100 millimètres par mètre cube.
Merci beaucoup, Khaled.
In fact, we were interested to the solution presented by Mr. Khaled, not only because it responds to our needs, but also because it's 100% eco-friendly. So it's very interesting solution since it respects the environment. As we know, as you may know, the textile industry is the second most polluting industry in the world. So we can find a solution to the waste of water or the rejection of the textile industry water through the solution, which is even more interesting. It's eco-friendly and it uses, for example, sustainable energy, etc., to work.
Perfect. So if we summarize a little bit this partnership, so you both learn technically because it's important to have a first installation. You also benefit from having clean water available, having resources available to treat water from the industries around, protect the environment, and also learn and show to anyone who wants to see it about treating water, but also about making the textile industry more sustainable, which is a really key impact. So perfect. So we have a great win-win situation here for both, and we also wish you all the best in continuing working together and growing this solution. Yes, Mrs. Yosra, you wanted to add something?
Yes, in fact, I wanted to add something concerning the sustainability of the use of this solution. In fact, as I mentioned in the beginning of my speech, we have a huge project that aim to develop a water reuse station. But in this phase, we were interested to the demo or the proof of concept that will be developed by Mr. Khaled. And when the principal collective physical-chemical and biological purification station will be developed, the proof of concept will be exploited, of course, but in the watering and irrigation of green spaces of the Technopole. So it won't be, let's say, wasted, exactly.
Ah, great. So we will be able to eat from your garden then.
Yes.
That's very good news. That's very good news. And I think also, Mr. Khaled, est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire combien d'années vous avez passé pour travailler sur ce projet? Je crois qu'il a été déconnecté. Well, okay, we will get back to him. We will get back to him shortly. So just to summarize what we see a lot of work, many years of work from researchers in the laboratory, and then a lot of implications of working with a partner in terms of having the well-adjusted product, in terms of proving the concepts for further growth into a market, but also for the industrial partner, we see a lot of benefits in terms of having a close work relationship, being able to guide the future product to their needs, into being able also to launch new areas of development. And so it's we could say it's kind of a growth together, right? I think Mrs. Salwa, you wanted to add something?
Yes, of course. I want Miss to say that thanks to Technoriat, really, that it was a boost for me to go on for this startup. I'm really yes, I want to thank them for all they had, the help and the training they gave us along the year. Last year to be able to go on with this now very, I can say, good startup. Thank you.
Excellent. So it's really the partnership with the industry that is helping you finally coming out and growing at a different pace for your project. I have to say I had the privilege to witness you growing from a researcher to the first contacts, after you had the first contacts with Danone, when you truly became an entrepreneur, when you really had the click. And I think you were very happy to finally see that your research will live and will exist with you. Excellent. Perfect. Thank you so much. So I think what we learn from this is indeed the partnering with industrial is key, not just for the startup, but also for the industrial system, which they benefit also a lot from this partnership. And it allows you to overcome the difficulty of prototyping, the difficulty of having the right product for the market when you're an entrepreneur. So we wish you both a lot of success, all of you, and hopefully be a big inspiration for other entrepreneurs around us. I'm now going to move to a bit the investment side, because of course investments are very key to coming out of the lab and having products that can fit the market, and making a real product. So Mr. Ghazi, can you talk to us a little bit about MDBAN and what it does, what it can do for young entrepreneurs in the region?
Sure, Sophie. Thanks for the opportunity. So MDBAN stands for Maghreb Diaspora Business Angel Network. So it has two concepts. One is, first of all, getting together the diaspora from the various Maghreb countries that are working and living in countries outside the Maghreb, whether it's in Europe, North America, Middle East, etc., and getting them interested in supporting and in making money off of investing in startups that are growing out of the Maghreb countries. Maghreb countries, for now, at least our definition is from Libya all the way to Morocco. And these business angels are basically individuals, professionals who have succeeded sufficiently in their career path to have some amounts of money that they can dedicate to long-term investments. And at the same time, they have professional expertise, professional networks that they can bring with their investment money to support these entrepreneurs. So MDBAN is acting as the bridge between all of these different diaspora business angels who are interested in doing things in the Maghreb countries, but need support to understand and find and better navigate the startup ecosystems that exist in the various countries. And so the objective of what MDBAN does is that we organize 1 or 2 investment cohorts per year. Business angels evaluate the startup business plans that have been submitted. And then as a group, they decide who wants to invest in what startup. And we work together with them to make sure that they can navigate the different administrative issues that they may face.
Thank you, Ghazi. And why do you think it's important for the startups of the region to have this regional approach? What is it bringing?
Well, like every businessman would tell you, obviously, the bigger the market that you have to sell your products or your solution into, the more opportunity you have. It's not automatic, it's not guaranteed, but obviously, if you have a big market, it's a lot better than if you have a small market and you're trying to gain a large market share to make an impact on your company. The other thing that is also important is from the work that we've done with MDBAN is that the 4 countries are very similar in terms of the issues they face, the solutions that they're looking for, their administrative environments, and so on. So it's a little bit like basically replicating what you're doing, for example, in Tunisia or in Algeria, in another country. You don't need to learn a new way of doing business. You don't need to learn a new language. There is affinities between us. So it's a little bit like where I am in California and selling in New York. It's natural, everybody does it. It would be very strange if somebody in California said, we will only sell in California and we will not sell in New York or in Canada, for example, or in Mexico. And so let's take, for example, the solution or the product or the innovation for Delis. Obviously, they eat yogurt as much in Algeria and in Egypt. Libya, I don't know if they eat yogurt. I heard that they do, but I think they do. So it only makes sense that to use Tunisia, for example, as the test bed to test the solution, to refine it, to make it as good as it can be, and then to quickly jump into those other markets. And likewise, I think Algeria and Morocco and Libya all also use water. I think I'm not sure exactly about Morocco, but I think we all use water. So solutions that we can develop for industrial waste management and so on to help with maximizing our water resources will also work just as well in those countries. So it's important to think about markets like, for example, Middle East or Europe and so on, but it's also a lot easier and a lot more efficient to start with making your impact on the Maghreb first, so that you can have a stronger position going into Europe or going into the Middle East and so on.
Excellent. And can you tell us a bit more about the development stage of the startup at which MDBAN can enter and have the best impact?
So, since the ecosystem in the Maghreb is still evolving, it's still not quite as mature as some other places, we are kind of flexible at MDBAN early on. Typically, we like to work with startups that are maybe a year or 18 months since they have been initiated, and to be maybe the second amount of money that gets invested into it after a local business angel organization like Carthage Business Angels, for example, having invested in them. So the gap that we are trying to solve is the gap between the local business angels investing, so first seed money, all the way to Series A, which would be an investment from a professional venture fund or private equity fund or some institution. So typically, as I mentioned, we would work with entrepreneurs between 18 months. So they've been around for 18 months to maybe 24 months, sometimes a little bit more, simply because the ecosystem is still not quite mature. And the amounts that we like to consider are investments in startups in aggregate. So between all the business angels that are interested, between 10,000 euros to 100,000 euros.
Perfect. And in terms of startups having partnerships or working close together with the industry, is this a factor that's important for an angel investor?
It's very useful, absolutely, because it demonstrates, first of all, that the solution is likely, there's a good chance that it will actually work. And secondly, it also demonstrates that there is a need from the market that is willing to adopt and to pay for this solution. So in certain, in terms of advice to startups that are looking to work with industrial groups, it might vary a little bit in the Maghreb compared to how you would work with an industrial group maybe outside. But two things to keep in mind. One is make sure that you protect your product and your solution in a way that one, you're not, because you're eager to work with the industrial group, that you're giving away too many rights or too many facilities for access to use of the solution. What I mean by that, in the case of, for example, Delis, make sure that somehow you're not prevented from selling your solution for a while to a competitor that's doing also the same thing as Delis. Also, make sure that to a certain degree, don't try to negotiate with industrial groups in a way that will make it almost impossible for them to say yes. So if you have to be a little generous, make sure you preserve your rights, make sure you preserve your access to the market, but maybe give them a low price to get in for a certain period of time so that you can lower the barrier to access. Because the issue that your startups will face in the Maghreb compared to other economic environments is that since there are a lot less competition, that the big groups can really demand certain things that you have to accept or not accept. And so you should think about, what are certain conditions that you might accept to be able to get that business, but at the same time, not just give away the store and end up with nothing at the end.
And that is something I guess the business angel potentially can help an entrepreneur with, right?
Absolutely, yeah. To negotiate that, or at least to think about how to negotiate, or at least to think about what are some of the things that are acceptable and some of the things that we should say no to.
Right, perfect. And Mr. Kazi, basically making a first prototype is very important for an entrepreneur, because this is how they can prove their technology. This is how they can demonstrate to future customers, but also to investors. But we often face an issue with how to finance the prototype. So where an investor or a potential customer would say, well, that sounds great, but can you show me something? And the entrepreneur will go, well, I could if I had some budget to show you something. So is this issue known by the business angels, and how can they also help in that aspect?
So yes, obviously business angels who invest in the risky environment or emerging environments are fully aware that there's a 99% chance that the startup is not going to survive, or 80 or 90 or something like this. It's definitely not 10%. So they invest knowing that that's the risk that they're taking. And so one of the ways to potentially try to fill that gap where you need financing for the prototype, but you don't have a prototype to prove that your solution is is viable, is to limit the amount of money that you would need for that prototype specifically, and to find business angels that will finance just that part. So for example, if you needed 50,000 dinars for a period of 6 months or 9 months for your company to evolve, maybe try to raise 25,000 dinars or 50 instead of 150 to finance just the prototype, and to explain exactly what you're going to be spending the money on the prototype, so that the angel investors might say, I'm willing to lose my 50,000 dinars on the prototype, but if it works, maybe I will get some advantages in investing in the startup after the prototype is proven to work.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for all this great advice that are for sure very helpful for entrepreneurs. We are now going to Mr. Nada Ben Amr. What is, can you talk us through a little bit your activities with Carthage Business Angels as a business angel locally for Tunisian startups, please?
Exactly. So as soon as we started at Carthage Business Angels, we went through different programs. The last one called Start Act, but we also are in the tourism industry, we are in the logistic industry. But one of the programs that I really would like to insist on that we worked on, and our best startups came through this program called UniVenture, where we have collected or went to the universities, research centers, and we identified some extremely interesting projects. Some of them succeeded, and today they are among the best startups that we have in Tunisia in biotech and other fields. I think that our role as an organization, an NGO, was to play the role of a catalyzer, to make people get out of a lab, get them out of their comfort zone, and tell them, why don't you go for an experience of starting your own business? You know, these people are researchers. They have been writing scientific papers. They have been in their lab teaching from time to time. They had some scientific articles to write, and then suddenly to bring them out of there and tell them, okay, now you need to manage a company. You need to pitch first. You need to work on a business plan. You need to get into the business mind. That was our challenge, and through programs of incubation, and I insisted on saying on how Carthage Business Angels or any other organization can bring these people out of the lab is not an easy task. So if that, you know, there are about 5,000, 6,000 PhDs today who don't have a job. So we can identify these people. Okay, not all of them are in the science. Some of them are in the languages, philosophy, or wherever. But that's not an issue, because there are some ideas that they can work on in the service industry and fast translation and wherever. And we can tell them that you don't need to be a scientist in order to make a startup. And among the startups that we have in Tunisia that are in artificial intelligence, we have seen some of their staff that have master's degree in languages and philosophy. So they can even make a team out of these labs if we can also bring them together. And our organization is also it tries to bring people from the science world to the business world, and to invest in teams. So what Khaled didn't talk to about his team, Salwa neither. I wish that they talk about their experience and also who is behind these great projects. Because why they are great? Because they have customers. They have one customer, MFC Pol, it is Danone, and they can, you know, go further through the Maghreb world or wherever if they succeed with this proof of concept in the real world.
Right, and I think it's very true what you're saying. The team is really key, particularly when you are going to go to the prototyping, to the customer, to the market, to the scale-up. And what kind of role can the business angel play? Because you talked about how it's difficult sometimes to take a researcher and say, okay, now you're an entrepreneur, a business manager. Good luck. It's not always easy. But isn't it also a possibility to match people that have different backgrounds, where the scientist can remain a scientist, but maybe be matched with a person who is really coming from the business world, who is really at ease with this, and kind of match them? Does the business angel play a role in that process?
Exactly. I mean, Ghazi, maybe he didn't talk that much about what will be the role of a business angel in Tunisia. Unfortunately, you know, he spoke about a rate of 90% failure. We are a little bit maybe lower than that, but the failure rate is so high. The angel part of the business angel is so important in our countries, because if you take people from the lab, they have no idea about the business world. If you are just there to throw 10,000 dinar, 50,000 dinar, without giving them the basics, without taking them almost by their hand, to tell them, okay, this is how you are supposed to do now that you have raised some money, or this is how you should proceed for your MVP, or how to get you know, the go-to-market, or where the acceleration process, because they don't even know where they are, what is expected from them. They don't have the approach of going to the market. They don't meet customers. They never met customers. They don't know how even to approach them. So the network of a business angel, the know-how of a business angel, all what he can bring to a startup, it's much, much important than the amount of money that he can put in. There's another issue which is really funny. When you get into a startup, they think that you are going to stay there, and then, you know, during the process you talk about exit, and then they are shocked and they go like, "What do you mean? I'll be alone in the future?" And then you tell them you need to grow enough, you need to make your own wings, and one day, yes, we need to leave. And then there is a stress. There is some kind of this faith or this relationship between the business angel and people coming from academia that becomes a little bit difficult, because we don't know this concept of business angel coming in, and after 8 months, 2 years, 3 years, they need to leave. I just made an exit in one of the most successful startups that is coming from academia. It was a very interesting process. I had not only to be a business angel, but almost I need to be a psychologist to explain why I had to leave, because, you know, the institution, the VCs wanted to go for a second round, and it's their opportunity to keep going. And Ghazi would know probably there are very, very few exits right now in Tunisia, and that's an issue. There is this bubble called entrepreneurship that we need to make it successful, because, you know, the access to the Maghreb market or to the African market through great ideas like Salwa's idea or Khalid's idea. We talk about things that we eat. We talk about water, which is in North Africa will be this water stress will be a big issue. We need to really to identify such projects that have a big potential, that is identified with our own need, call it Africa, called the Mediterranean Sea or the Middle East or wherever. And we shouldn't copy the models or startups that are coming from overseas, where we, as business owners, we never invest in copies, we invest in innovation. The innovation part has to be there. The market part, not only, I mean, it should be very theoretical. We have seen people who are very innovative, but unfortunately, there are no such program that will let them get out of their labs.
Right. And thank you very much. A very helpful input from you, Mr. Nader. What we also see, you know, the theme of the Innovation Week is around water, food, and energy, which obviously are very important globally, but have a specific signification for us in the Mediterranean region, where we have great food, but also not always as much water as we would like. And we are also, of course, very aware and concerned with renewable energy. Do you think these are trends that are also, do you see those trends also in the business angel world, that you think, okay, yeah, these are types of projects or themes that are important that we care about as business angels, or are they just part of all the other themes?
If I talk about myself, I'm really not in the social entrepreneurship. I'm more into the real world, I would say. But today, you know, if we talk about the environment or food or energy, these are real issues with huge potential. I would wish that we added the health sector, which is not just to make it sound nice that we are the health tech or the bringing AI into these industries. Will be definitely the future. I mean, when we talk about water, right now Tunisia is going through water stress. If we talk about energy, exactly the same issue. We are still looking for renewable energies. There are so many things that are happening in the labs in the United States and wherever. And the great thing about this is, like, whatever happens in a lab in MIT tomorrow, we would know it the day after. We can work on the projects that are similar to all these innovations that are happening all over the world. So it is important. Maybe the business angels today are looking to make some money, let me put it this way, in order to invest part of their, and they need to diversify. Unfortunately, in Tunisia, we don't have a specialized business angels because the community is very small. If you go to Algeria or Morocco, even if the countries are bigger, but they don't have that much, I mean, they are learning through experiences, through what is happening in Tunisia, through the Startup Act or wherever. And today I will have a meeting with an Algerian guy who would like to understand what are the things that Tunisia went through in order to make it a better environment, entrepreneurial environment in Africa, but especially in Algeria. You know, we had more than, for the UniVenture program, we had more than 300 candidates. Among them, we choose only 9 startups. So it's extremely selective. And the idea are definitely, we can find an extremely interesting number of ideas. But if you don't do the real mentorship in order to get them from an okay startup to the best startup with a huge potential, and how to use the network of the Tunisian diaspora and the business angel community worldwide in order to go to have the access to market, finding some new investors, and this will be interesting for Tunisia to open up for also business angels and VCs who would like to invest in Tunisia. It's not that easy. All the administrative issues are not easy, and that's also why the business angel should be there to make it easier for them to learn about the administrative issues.
Right. And I think, I believe also, if we talk about water, food, and energy, these are topics that really impact us in the Mediterranean, and especially in North Africa, because for one thing, we are going to have the highest water stress in the world in a few years, and we are already feeling this. But on the other hand also, and we see it when we look at all the different research projects, we have a lot of people working on these topics, innovating, doing things in all the region of Tunisia, particularly in south of Tunisia. We have a lot of research centers who are tackling these issues. And I think we have kind of an advantage compared to people who have maybe more rain, because we are used to managing resources even historically. So maybe that can be a little bit of an advantage for us, combined with our innovation capabilities. However, when we talk about water, food, and energy, usually we are talking about hardware. We are talking about building machines, creating industrial processes. We are talking about building factories even. And the question that I have is, for a few years, we have seen a lot of investments in companies that are more related to software, more related to artificial intelligence, more related to, let's say, non-physical products. And the thing is that when you do physical products, the cost of launching something is a bit higher. You have to conceive, you have to build, you have to use materials. So how do you see, and maybe it's a question for both Ghazi and you, Mr. Nader, how do you see that we can contribute to having more investments in hardware, or what could be the hurdles? How do you see, what's your view on that?
Ghazi, you take it, or should I go for it?
Start, Nazah, and I'll finish.
Among the startups that we had in the pipe that were very successful are startups that are well known right now, like Metania, or who are in the renewable energy. We have some others like Iris for the productivity of honey, Vitalite, who are also in the micro algae production. Sorry?
Algae,
exactly.
Yes.
We have some others who are also in the pharmaceutical industry, but the ticket that Metania asked for in order to make the process of having methanol for the agriculture business as a source of energy was a little bit higher than other, I would say, IT startups or wherever.
Yes.
For the biotech, it's also very expensive, or for the agribusiness, it was a little bit more expensive because they needed more hardware. Some of them, they just jump in and they say, okay, I need this or that machine or wherever. And we don't have any clue on how they are going to, why they need to invest immediately. Why don't they go and do their process in black box and subcontract it somewhere? And that's how they started. That's how they become successful. But today, Metania is, I would say, a 6-digit, if not more, or I would say tens of millions worth of the company. It's because they were able not only to make it the process easy to use, there was a lot of investment, but they were also able to export. And we are talking about exporting hardware, know-how, and also software. So it depends on which field you are talking about, but it's not because the ticket is high. That means that the business angel back off. I mean, the best scenario will be to have some business angels with the institutional investors to come in when the ticket is high. And it is true that for some projects we had to back off because they needed like 1.5 and 2 million Tunisian dinar to make their MVP. And that's how
Right.
it is for the health sector or the biotech. We don't have that much startups at that level, unfortunately, in Tunisia.
Right. So just before we continue, I just want to tell the audience that we will take questions and we will answer your questions. So feel free to, just post your questions, put it in the chat or on Facebook. If you are watching us on Facebook, we will answer your questions shortly. Sinade, also, we understand that to create hardware, we need to have a little bit more investment. What are possible ventures that we could think about, maybe between business angels from different regions or business angels and industries, or as you said, institutions, to make sure that one day we are able also to venture into, even after a prototype, building a factory? How do you see, is this a possibility to just bind together with more actors to raise money?
We are after a project right now that is the aquaculture. It's really a mix of 3 investors: business angels, institutional, and I'm going to name them UGFS, who are playing a great role, and also the customer, who is an early buyer of the system, who is going to help the startup to because they finished the MVP, they need just to tune the MVP and go and start for having the industrial process. So if the entrepreneurs has this ability of convincing people, investors, institutions, and customers, that means the guy is good, and probably there's some kind of innovation somewhere. With having a patent in hand, that also helps a lot.
Right. So you've done it, and it works.
Definitely.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you very much. Kazi, so what's your take on this? Could we be able to better finance higher tickets because hardware is more expensive than software? What's your take on that?
So there is no magic bullet. The fact that Maghreb countries still haven't really adopted early angel investing or even early stage investing like Middle East now has been able to do, means that you have to be, or your solution or the technology you're developing has to be really exciting, has to be a big market, a big problem, something that people can visualize. Even though they don't have something in front of them, they can see the potential for this to be very big. And in our first cohort at MDBAN, we have a couple of those startups like that, where they need to raise slightly bigger amounts to develop these physical products, but they are selling it so well. They are proposing something that everybody can imagine in their mind of how much, how good it could be and the problem that it can solve. And so we are working also, just like Nazah mentioned, we're working with institutions to fill in the gap. So the angels are there to give the push so that the institutions can also feel a little bit more comfortable, and the institutions can provide a little bit more money up front. But in the end, if you can sell your product in a way that is very exciting, you will find maybe not 100% of the money that you need, but maybe 80% of it. So if you have an average solution, or a solution that people don't really understand, or a solution that is targeting a small market where the problem is not quite exciting, etc., clearly it will be much more difficult for you to raise money to go spend it, especially on a prototype, because if that prototype doesn't work, the money is gone and there's nothing, the company most likely is not going to be able to easily move to the next stage. So people are reluctant to be first. What I mean by that is everybody will tell you, go find somebody else who'll give you the money to build the prototype. When the prototype works, I will give you as much money as you want.
Perfect. Could we say that there's kind of a double standard? Like if you have a software only project, it's cheaper to realize, and people might be maybe less regarding or more willing to take the risk. And if you have a hardware project, which per nature is more expensive, then people will be more regarding and more demanding to you.
Okay, so not necessarily. No, not necessarily. Because if you give me propose a software that's going to address a small market or a niche or something that many other competitors are doing, it doesn't help the fact that it's cheap. It's still, I don't think that it's going to be a way for me to make money as an investor. However, one way to demonstrate the viability of your solution before you actually have an MVP, and today I think it's a lot easier to do it than before, is to try to simulate it as much as possible in software. Okay, so if you have a machine that can take water and out, dirty water and output clean water, somehow there has to be some kind of mathematical, physical representation in software, meaning on a piece of paper, that can demonstrate this. And I, as an investor, this is what we used to do in Silicon Valley back in the day when I was working out of here. We would go to professors or experts in that field, and we would tell them, can you basically give me your opinion on the formulas that are being used to prove that this will work in theory. And that's good enough for me, because then at least I know that if the theory works, that we can find a way to get to the practice. Okay, so you can still demonstrate that something works even without the physical product itself, like cell phone. Right. You can simulate a cell phone from end to end without any piece of hardware, and you can know what the performance of that cell phone is going to be. And so for things that are quantifiable in terms of equations, in terms of science, like for example in biotech, yes, they spend a lot of money, but a lot of the theory is demonstrated on computers. And if you go and look at, for example, what the Tunisian startup called InstaDeep is doing with variants of the coronavirus, they can demonstrate or find or look for ways for vaccines to be developed theoretically on computers before people go in the lab and they start to measure this and that.
Right, so that's a very good advice for startups. Indeed, try to push simulation as much as possible. And thank God we have examples like InstaDeep, because simulation is not that easy. And particularly if you're a specialist in chemistry or biochemistry, simulation of processes, it's a bit of a different field. So hopefully we can also here make matchings and partnerships to make sure that happens. But indeed, it's a very good tip, and makes me think, like if you are doing hardware, obviously the failure rate of startup, we have to manage to have a lower failure rate of startups because the investment is heavier.
Let me actually interject on that, Sophie. Yeah? So one thing to keep in mind is, as a hardware or a science-based startup, the most valuable thing that you could do is actually not the prototype, but the patent. If you can get a patent for what you're doing, then your startup is worth a lot more. And I'm not talking about worth in the Tunisian market or the Maghreb market. I'm talking about patents that can be exploited worldwide. It's a lot more valuable than your startup with a prototype and no patent. Because if I am Siemens, or if I'm Honeywell or something like this, and you come to me with a patent for wastewater management that in theory works, because that's what the patent is, it's theory, okay? So it's not necessarily a product that you've already built, then I can make hundreds of millions out of that. And in fact, just as an anecdote, in the US, there are inventors that all day long, all they do is write patents from themselves, and then they go to Apple and they say, you're touching on this patent in this little corner, so please give me $10 million so I will go away. And so my point is that the patents, even when they're not exactly perfect or something in this, they're still worth millions of dollars on a global basis. So before you do your MVP, if you can do a patent, you'll be able to convince industrial partners and potential investors in a way that they understand, because the patent is worth something even before the MVP.
Well, that's very important. So your advice is like, go first for the patent. And
if
then
you don't have the money to do the MVP, do the patent, because the
Right.
patent does not require an actual physical product, and yet can provide you, one, with protection, and two, it can provide you with something that the IP, the intellectual property, that's worth potentially tens of millions of dollars just with that small piece of paper. Right.
So very, very good advice. Thank you very much, Qazi. Another question for both our investors. If we're talking again, water, food, energy, a number of projects will end up, as I said, creating some form of industry where at some point, hopefully Mrs. Salwa will produce her natural dyes from a small factory, and the installation, for example, of Sheikh Khaled is also almost a factory, a water treatment plant. It's a plant. So in the near future, do we have in our region the ambition and the means to be able not only to finance projects as business angels when the startups are small, but also in the future grow into real plants, factories, industries? Biotechnology is also another example where we lack the production means. It's great to create molecules and enzymes and bacteria, but how do we take profit of that if we cannot produce? So do we have that ambition, and do we have the means in the future to be able to support this?
I will respond to that. We should be ambitious, because when we take these best scientists from Tunisia and put them in a lab in Germany, France, Canada, they do really a great job, either in academia or once they establish their startup in these countries. The problem with the size of the market, the problem of the administrative issues in Tunisia is definitely there. One of the remark, and this is through 10 years of experience in Tunisia, there are no spin-offs coming from the industries. If you take the largest groups, and they are making lots of money in Tunisia, and you tell them, if you are in the distribution business or agri-business or wherever, how many spin-offs did you create every year? Unfortunately, zero or epsilon. It's really peanuts. Why? Because we don't know how to do that. We let people leave the company rather than if they have this entrepreneurial spirit, leave the company in order to establish their own startups and not help these best maybe employees who have this innovative spirit to let it in the company and make spin-offs out of them. There are really very few cases that happen in Tunisia. So in my opinion, there will be some interesting startups coming from our ecosystems, but the issue of how to bring parts of their machines or their process into the country, with the issue with customs, with the Ministry of Finance, with what kind of status the company has, all the bylaws. It is becoming a big hurdle for the startups, and that's the role of Ghazi, myself, all the initiatives, to let these people like Salwa, Khaled, work on their projects rather than working on issues that do not have anything to do with the innovation. That's one issue. Second issue, the second remark, whenever we invest in a startup, we invest more into the innovative spirit of the guy or the lady who is behind the project, not the innovation itself. Because if you invest in one innovation that came out of the lab with Salwa or Khaled, and he doesn't have the innovative spirit, he will stick to that idea and never brings another idea again, or he cannot team up with people who can even work on this innovative spirit in order to bring even better ideas. Because Salwa, when she spoke about the dye stuff for the agribusiness, dairy products is definitely interesting, but also the applications in pasta and other ingredients is definitely interesting. But Yusra would know as well that for the textile business, there are some experiences in Tunisia with companies like Sartex, where they use the natural dye stuff for their jeans. How successful it is, we don't know. And these are our sharing experiences with other fields that will help Salwa, that will help Khaled, because the same customer who is Sartex has an issue with water and how to recycle water as well, which is one of the most expensive components with energy into the jean washers, denim producers, and textile producers.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nader, for your input. Ghazi, what's your take on that one? Do we have what it takes, and do we have the ambition to not only help startups grow, but also in the future create plants and factories and industries?
So I guess it's going to be a choice by the decision makers, because unfortunately in Tunisia, I think as Nazah mentioned, we basically decided, I don't know why, but we decided that we're going to fight the battle with two hands tied behind our back and blindfolded. There's no way you can fight battles like that if that's the decision that you made. So all of these hurdles that we are talking about are 100% self-inflicted. Nobody came to us and told us you need to make everything complicated and you need to, as Khaled mentioned, to import some equipment, you need to go through 20,000 regulations, etc. So as a country, we have to decide if we want to be similar to Singapore or Estonia or something like this, or if we want to stay as we are right now, as we have been for the last 70 years, basically, adopting the very much as close to Soviet style economy as you can find. So we have all the tools and the brain capability to not only invent new innovations, but also build clusters around them. We did a little bit of that, I think, in pharmaceuticals in Tunisia for a while, and then I don't know why that hasn't mushroomed even more. We could do that in artificial intelligence. We could do it in many different things, but the issue is as soon as you try to scale in Tunisia and it involves more than people, it becomes very difficult. What I mean by that, if it's infrastructure, if it's connectivity to other geographies, if it's paperwork, administration, etc., if it even touches hard currency you have a 50-50 chance of ending up in jail, etc., etc. So we can decide we want to be, modern and rich and happy, or we can stay the way we are. It's a choice. It does not require us to do a fundamental injection of brains or money or anything like this.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ghazi. So we are almost at the end of our session. So I would like to summarize really quickly, because it was a very rich session, and you all of your inputs were very, very valuable, and I hope will be helpful for a lot of entrepreneurs in the region. So I'm going to summarize the main points, and then I will ask you just in 10 seconds to give each and every one of you one advice that you could give to an entrepreneur. So we talked about partnerships between startups in the industry and the advantage that they are for both. We talked about simulating when we cannot prototype to demonstrate the technology or an application. We talked about patents that are very key and can be also helpful to raise more funds for actually building a prototype. We talked about joining forces between business angels, diaspora business angels, institutions, industry, to be able to raise more funds. We talked about the roles of the business angels into helping the entrepreneur or the scientist to overcome some obstacles that he or she might not be very familiar with, the role of the team, and how also a business angel can help make a team together around the scientist to make sure we have good chances of success. So all of this really, really very, very helpful, and I thank you, all of you, so very much. And now, if you can just give one little advice, each of you. We'll start with you, Mrs. Salwa.
Thank you, Sophie. Really, thank you for the investor, Ghazi and Neza. Really very thankful to them. I'm more aware about what I'm going to do next, because I was thinking about going more about prototyping or patenting. I think now I'm definitely more going to patenting. It is important at the international side, and this is not only about going to produce in Tunisia. I took this opportunity that it is the global market is very it's open to this kind of food product. Definitely. Thank you very much, both of you, Ghazi and Neza.
Thank you, Mrs. Salwa. En 10 secondes, c'est Khaled, un petit conseil à donner à vos compagnons dans l'entrepreneuriat. Vous êtes en mute. Si vous pouvez ouvrir votre micro, c'est Khaled.
Je m'excuse. Tout d'abord, je veux vous remercier, Sophie, et vous remercier toute l'équipe qui a organisé ce séminaire très intéressant. Je veux aussi remercier Sirazi pour les conseils très importants. Moi aussi, je suis en train de penser au brevet, car ça va ajouter beaucoup de valeur à ma idée de startup. Comme conseil pour les jeunes chercheurs tunisiens, il ne faut pas se limiter au labo et aux recherches théoriques. Il faut mettre la main et se lancer pour vraiment réaliser leurs rêves et leurs objectifs.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Khaled. Mrs. Yusra, in 10 seconds, one advice.
I would begin by thanking you for the organization of this interesting panel, and I just want to emphasize that there are so many Tunisian or local technologies that respond to real and existing industrial needs in the Tunisian or in the international industries. So the role of the technopark or the industrials is to play a key role in order to let the researchers bring their innovations into life and concretize the innovation and the research results by developing their own startups, technological startups. So I encourage industrials and especially technoparks, etc., to support researchers in order to create their startups and concretize their innovations. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yusra. Qazi, one last word, maybe?
So to entrepreneurs or to would-be entrepreneurs, I would say make sure you get out of the lab once in a while and go and sell your solution, tell the world about your solution, meet potential investors. It's not enough to just stay in the lab. You have to sell, sell, sell.
Thank you so much, Qazi. Sinazeh, one last word?
Yeah, with 400,000 students, with the tens of thousands of professors and people working in the academia, with the status of the student entrepreneur that is helping the students to work on their master degree through a startup. I think that we have all the tools and we have all the willingness. Knowing that ANAVA is at the door, I think that even the financial resources will be there. We just need to get together and work together in order to make it easier for the entrepreneurs to work on their projects. And that's our role of all of us, Ghazi, Sophie, Yusra, everybody, to make it sure that these people succeed.
Excellent. Thank you very much. You know that as true cooperation is very key and definitely a key to success. I thank you all very, very, very much. It was absolutely great having you here, and I'm sure this has been really helpful for our entrepreneurs and our actors in the region. So thank you so much, everyone, and speak to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.